Joining me this week is Gideon Rozner from the Institute of Public Affairs. Gideon, let's start with a question that is, well, should be easy to answer, particularly if you're a doctor, but let's hear from Planned Parenthood's representative, Dr. Kumar, who was asked about whether men can have babies.
Dr. Kumar, can biological men become pregnant and give birth?
So men can have pregnancies, especially trans men.
Wow. Gideon, especially trans men,
Yeah.
really?
Well, that's what I love the most about this. Look, if he'd said, oh, look, biological women who become men know how to have a uterus and they can become pregnant, therefore men can be pregnant, I wouldn't agree with him, but at least I could see the logic of it. But to say men can get pregnant, especially trans men, I mean, this guy is ignoring the most basic of biological facts just to avoid hurting somebody's feelings. And this guy's a doctor. These are the people who are telling us to respect the science, to listen to the science. I mean, they're just on another planet, honestly.
And talking about other planets, CNN, we've got lefty host Don Lemon. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was schooled about slavery and reparations, but he hasn't learnt his lesson. This time, he's losing it because the climate expert didn't want to blame Hurricane Ian on climate change. Have a look.
What effect does climate change have on this phenomenon that is happening now? Because it seems these storms are intensifying. That's the question.
I don't think you can link climate change to any one event. Okay. On the whole, on the cumulative, climate change may be making storms worse, but to link it to any one event, I would caution against that.
Okay. Well, listen, I grew up there, and these storms are intensifying. Something is causing them to intensify.
Gideon, you know, he lived in Florida. It's the vibe. It's the vibe.
He grew up in Florida. He didn't, by the way. He grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and now he lives in New York. So I'm not sure precisely what on-the-ground experience he's talking about. But again, I make the point. I mean, these people aren't on the side of science and don't speak for the science. These people have bastardised and perverted science for their own twisted ideological purposes. The idea that they represent truth and unbiased, impartial science is absolutely laughable.
It is, and the guy he was speaking to wasn't just someone reading from an auto
He was good.
He was an expert in the field. That is like, disregard your expertise. I'm Don Lemon, and I lived in Louisiana or Florida or somewhere, and I feel like
close enough. It's the vibe.
It's the vibe. Now the Democrats, they seem to think they can stop hurricanes with their policies.
We just did something about climate change for the first time in decades. That's why we've got to win this as that hurricane bears down on Florida. We got to win in the midterms. We understand that.
Gideon, your response to that, I mean, it's one thing to be thinking that your policies are going to change the weather, but as this hurricane is occurring, is it not such a cynical exercise as people are losing their lives to pretend that you could have made a difference to the impact of this particular weather event?
But Rita, that's the playbook. Amy Klobuchar's not the first to go on like this. I'm old enough to remember when Barack Obama was nominated for the Democratic Party in 2008. He literally said, this is the moment where the waters are turned back and the planet began to heal. Anthony Albanese campaigned uphill and down dale, basically almost personally blaming Scott Morrison for bushfires and floods. Now, I was critical of Scott Morrison, Lord knows I was, but to make him personally almost responsible for these weather events because he didn't wave the flag for NIDS, well, I guess he did in the end, but not waving it enthusiastically enough is just ludicrous.